Yeah, a few things. I wanted to move away from familiar police drama that we've seen more of on British television, only because it needed a reason to be cinematic. We had to go ask ourselves the question, why is this a piece of cinema? And one way of doing that is I wanted to lift the whole thing just an inch off the ground, and this is why I didn't want cops to look like cops and dress like cops and have houses of cops and offices of cops. And as you can see, Bill and I have no interest in police procedure in this story. I'm not interested in evidence bags and how they go about their business like that. In terms of the memory element of it, the two central dynamics of the film are the outside, where there is no judgment or expectation or witnessing of anything, typified by symbolized by the islands, and the oppressive, heavy surroundings that Christina gave us, the designer gave us so beautifully, and George shot so nicely, which weigh on the brothers, and by making it something like a fable, feeling fable-ish, the thriller can run as a thriller, in my opinion, without needing to say much about Britain or cops or anything like that. But similarly, it allows the themes to be evident within the thriller more easily. So yes, a memory. It's actually Michelle Clapton, who used that term. She says at the end of shooting, it's like what we're after was a memory, and it's her line. It's absolutely right, and that fabled quality was. I just wanted to put it in a fresh space, so we didn't feel it now. In terms of the locations, why there and all that sort of stuff, I will let Paul say something in a moment. I grew up there, so those islands were where, in fact, some of the shots were taken from my mum's balcony. I remember as a kid those islands being, I mean, it's a beautiful place, and I remember when I was at junior school there, if I ever thought if I wanted to kill somebody, that's be where I'd put them. I never figured how an 11-year-old would get the body of a history teacher out of the thing, but you know what I mean. So that's why we went there, and it also had the large Liverpool and Birkenhead have astonishing sort of large old buildings, and that's what took us there, and they serve that fable quality.
I came to the film in a very traditional way, and my agent sent me a script. I thought the script was great. I thought that it was, initially when I opened it, I thought, oh no, I'm going to be watching 2 hours of Prime, I'm going to be reading 2 hours of Prime Suspect. Not that that's bad, but you know, I didn't want to make a movie like that, and very quickly it changed into a movie about a man who does something so violent and heinous, and he ties this knot, and in trying to he can't untie this knot, and in trying to, he himself unravels. And I thought that was really interesting. And I have been looking for a film to make with Stephen for 5 years, something that we could do together. And I rung him up and I said, I found it. And he said, I'm in.
Without my
and that's actually true. And then. Well, that's wrong, isn't it? I shouldn't admit that, but I did. And but he was very into the idea, and I had seen Occupation first, and then I saw Awakening, and I thought it was startlingly brilliant, and you know, you can be caught out at moments like this, but I really mean it. Nick's the best director I've ever worked for, and if you can get a cast that has Stephen Graham and Mark Strong and Brian Cox in it, and then build an environment for them where they feel safe enough to give the very best of themselves in their work, then if I ever direct, it'll be some way in the vein of your. You're such an ass. Yeah, I'm here. You just. I know. Unbelievable. I said the same thing about Peter Weir, and I will say the same thing. Yeah. I don't mean it. Nobody watches these things back, you know. Just you.
I think, because it wasn't my decision to have a character with dementia, of course, it was Bill's. But the reason he's in with that condition is familial history, and the retelling of mythology within a family is very interesting anyway. And to make the author of that myth now forget it and leave only the scars and the weight of that mythology upon the brothers is something rather beautiful about that. And we all have that about our families. This is very, you know, I talked about the area. Well, my dad died shortly before we started filming, and those are the sand flats we built sandcastles on. And the line about the wind is a line I mentioned to Bill. That's something my dad had said when we were kids. And we all know the way we sort of exaggerate and mythologize our own existence to our children, and they did to us. And Dad did that to me, you know, to hear it. You think he was Tarzan growing up. And that's part of it. And I think it was just quite interesting to then make the author of that forget. And in doing so, almost absolve himself of the guilt. When Joe says at the end, I f***ed up, you sort of wonder whether it's sort of Lenny as well. It's sort of Lenny's fault. It's sort of he f***ed up. You know, I just think there's a very complicated relationship, and it gets more complicated because the man has dementia.
It was just an honour to work with the whole cast. You know, to work with Paul was an absolute joy. Like he said, we've been looking for something to do for a long time together, and there was just so much trust on set. It was like, I mean, there was points where I said, oh, Chrissy's doing me head in, he's just a moaner, he does nothing but cry, and but it was, you know, it was a very emotional set, and it was a joy to work on, actually. And
it was hard work as well. It was very cold out there. You know, these guys were standing in suits in February, you know, in the northwest of England, and the morale needs to be high. And
there was a lot of jokes on set and a good atmosphere, but we lived together while we were actually filming.
And yeah, that's true.
It's true. It's true.
A nightmare. It was a nightmare. I did all the cooking because he can no more cook than he kangaroo. It was, but Mark Strong. He is a truly beautiful actor, and what's even more irritating is he's the nicest human being you've ever met in your life. It's just so exhausting.
Yeah.
How lovely he is.
Definitely.
Okay, that's a really interesting question. I don't know, because I don't really, you know, one doesn't really chart one's career that way in a way. I just do the best with the job that's in front of me that I fancy the most, and I can retrofit a logic. I can go back and sort of pretend there was an arc and a development, but I don't think it's true. I don't think it's there. I don't you know, just like a lot of directors retrofit inspirations and touchstones and the things that have inspired them and all that. I think that's all. I'll just let other people do that, if I'm honest. I just make, I look at what the script, I did what Sidney Lumet did. I mean, I just don't do it as well as he does. But I just look at what is the text in front of, what's the story in front of you, and how do you tell that absolutely the best way you can. And if that means a fable, then do. And if that means to imbue the piece, the occupations you talk about, with a sense of loss of control, which is what Iraq was all about, you know, then do that. Film to accentuate that. And if the awakening needs to be done, you know, that's all. So I couldn't answer it. I'm sorry, that's not very helpful, but I just close my eyes, I read the script and I close my eyes and think, what's the film I see? And then I go to set wanting to deliver that. And if these guys have better ideas, I keep my ears open. You know, and if all my collaborators have better ideas, I keep my ears open, and then we end up with a film.